Phoebe is the most massive irregular satellite of Saturn with a mean diameter of 132 miles. It was discovered by William Henry Pickering on March 18, 1899 from photographic plates that had been taken starting on the 16th of August 1898 at the Boyden station of the Carmen Alto Observatory near Arequipa, Peru, by Delisle Stewart. It was the first satellite to be discovered photographically. Phoebe was the first target encountered upon the arrival of the Cassini spacecraft in the Saturn system in 2004, and is thus unusually well studied for an irregular satellite of its size. Cassini's trajectory to Saturn and time of arrival were specifically chosen to permit this flyby. After the encounter and its insertion into orbit, Cassini did not go much beyond the orbit of Iapetus. Phoebe is roughly spherical and has a differentiated interior. It was spherical and hot early in its history and was battered out of roundness by repeated impacts. It is believed to be a captured centaur that originated in the Kuiper belt. Phoebe is the second largest retrograde satellite in the solar system after Neptune's moon Triton. Phoebe was discovered by William Henry Pickering on the 17th of March 1899 from photographic plates that had been taken starting on the 16th of August 1898 at the Boyden Observatory near Arequipa, Peru, by Delisle Stewart. It was the first satellite to be discovered photographically. Phoebe was named after Phoebe, a titaness in Greek mythology that was associated with the moon. It is also designated Saturn X in some scientific literature. The IAU nomenclature standards have stated that features on Phoebe are to be named after characters in the Greek myth of Jason and the Argonauts. Fuck you. In 2005, the IAU officially named 24 craters Acastus, Admetus, Amphin, Buttes, Calais, Canthus, Clitus, Virginus, Euphemus, Eurydamas, Eurytion, Eurytus, Hylas, Idman, Iphitus, Jason, Mopsus, Nauplius, Oileus, Peleus, Phleas, Telos, Telemann and Zetes. Toby Owen of the University of Hawaii at Manoa, chairman of the International Astronomical Union Outer Solar System Task Group said, "We picked the legend of the Argonauts for Phoebe as it has some resonance with the exploration of the Saturn system by Cassini-Huygens. We can't say that our participating scientists include heroes like Hercules and Atalanta, but they do represent a wide, international spectrum of outstanding people who were willing to take the risk of joining this voyage to a distant realm in hopes of bringing back a grand prize. Shut the fuck up." Quote, Phoebe's orbit is retrograde, that is, it orbits Saturn opposite to Saturn's rotation. For more than 100 years, Phoebe was Saturn's outermost known moon, until the discovery of several smaller moons in 2000. Phoebe is almost 4 times more distant from Saturn than its nearest major neighbor, Iapetus, and is substantially larger than any of the other moons orbiting planets at comparable distances. All of Saturn's regular moons except Iapetus orbit very nearly in the plane of Saturn's equator. The outer irregular satellites follow moderately to highly eccentric orbits, and none are expected to rotate synchronously as all the inner moons of Saturn do except for Hyperion. The Phoebe ring is one of the rings of Saturn. This ring is tilted 27 degrees from Saturn's equatorial plane and the other rings. It extends from around 167.5 times the radius of Saturn, or 12,545,247.5 miles. Phoebe orbits the planet at an average distance of 215 Saturn radii, 16,102,855 miles. The ring is about 40 times as thick as the diameter of the planet, or 2,995,880 miles. Because the ring's particles are presumed to have originated from micrometeoroid impacts on Phoebe, they should share its retrograde orbit, which is opposite to the orbital motion of the next inner moon, Iapetus. Inwardly migrating ring material would thus strike Iapetus's leading hemisphere, contributing to its two-tone coloration. Although very large, the ring is virtually invisible. It was discovered using NASA's Infrared Spitzer Space Telescope. Material displaced from Phoebe's surface by microscopic meteor impacts may be responsible for the dark areas on the surface of Hyperion. Debris from the biggest impacts may be the origin of the other moons of Phoebe's group, the Norse group, all of which are less than 6 miles in diameter. Phoebe is roughly spherical and has a diameter of 132 miles, approximately 6% that of the Moon. It is Saturn's 9th largest moon, but it might be the 8th most massive. Hyperion, another one of Saturn's moons, has a larger radius, but is less massive than Phoebe. Phoebe rotates every 9 hours and 16 minutes, and completes a full orbit around Saturn in about 18 months. Its surface temperature is on average minus 324 degrees. Most of Saturn's inner moons have very bright surfaces, but Phoebe's albedo is very low, 0.06, as dark as lampblack. Fuck my ass. The Phoebine surface is heavily scarred, with craters up to 49.7 miles across, one of which has walls 9.9 miles high. Phoebe's dark coloring initially led to scientists surmising that it was a captured asteroid, as it resembled the common class of dark carbonaceous asteroids. These are chemically very primitive and are thought to be composed of original solids that condensed out of the solar nebula with little modifications since then. However, images from Cassini indicate that Phoebe's craters show a considerable variation in brightness, which indicate the presence of large quantities of ice below a relatively thin blanket of dark surface deposits some 980 to 1,640 feet thick. In addition, quantities of carbon dioxide have been detected on the surface, a finding that has never been replicated for an asteroid. It is estimated that Phoebe is about 50% rock, as opposed to the 35% or so that typifies Saturn's inner moons. For these reasons, scientists are coming to think that Phoebe is in fact a captured centaur, one of a number of icy planetoids from the Kuiper belt that orbit the Sun between Jupiter and Neptune. Phoebe is the first such object to be imaged as anything other than a dot. Yeehaw! Despite its small size, Phoebe is thought to have been a spherical body early in its history, with a differentiated interior, before solidifying and being battered into its current, slightly non-equilibrium shape. Apart from one regio named after Phoebe's daughter, Leto, all named features are craters named after characters from the Greek legend of Jason and the Argonauts. Phoebe formed in the Kuiper belt within 3 million years after the origin of the solar system. This was early enough that sufficient radioactive material was available to melt it into a sphere and stay warm enough to have liquid water for tens of millions of years. Unlike Saturn's other moons, Phoebe was not favorably placed for the Voyager probes. Voyager 2 observed Phoebe for a few hours in September, 1981. In the images, taken from a distance of 1,367,016.6 miles at low phase angle, the size of Phoebe was approximately 11 pixels and showed bright spots on the otherwise dark surface. Cassini passed 1,285 miles from Phoebe on the 11th of June 2004, returning many high-resolution images, which revealed a scarred surface. Because Voyager 2 had not been able to produce any high-quality images of Phoebe, obtaining them was a priority for the Cassini mission and its flight path was deliberately designed to take it close by. Otherwise, Cassini would likely not have returned images much better than Voyager's. Because of Phoebe's short rotation period of approximately 9 hours, 17 minutes, Cassini was able to map virtually the entire surface of Phoebe. The close flyby enabled the mass of Phoebe to be determined with an uncertainty of only 1 in 500.